What's up, everybody, and welcome to Here's the Thing with Maximilian Young, Madd Maxxx, or whatever the fuck you want to call me. With me today is the man who needs no introduction, but he gets one anyway, is 50 Funny Names, Spooky Diddle Fingers, homie Derek of Underground Sound.
Reverend Television. How do you always forget that?
I smoke as much weed as you do, and
You use the alias I use least, Spooky Diddle Fingers.
Really? I just because
I got problems.
Reverend Television being the main thing Reverend Television's always been a thing, but that being your main name is still relatively new to me.
Yeah, it's the rebrand.
Because I've been calling you 50 for fucking 50 years.
Yeah, my friends call me 50.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. So in any case, that's who's here with me.
50 Funny Names. How you doing? How's
the homie Lord Loudpack, Lord of the Loudpack. He's outside, out back.
Loudpack's out back
having a cigarette. In any case, he'll be back in it a little bit. He'll have some stuff to offer to some other parts. But so yeah, just hopping in here to keep this moving. We got our first episode. I got my first interview with Carrie Means on and another thing. The additional interview section we're trying to flesh out here. But, we're trying to, keep it moving, have some additional content for you guys. Felt like this was a topic that, we could do for any, time period, because this is a thing that everybody's been talking about for a long time. That's aliens. But
timeless.
The aliens, I mean, who knows? Maybe they don't even exist within time. Maybe they exist
buddy, we're going to get into
outside of time. Yeah, no, we'll get into all that. But so I also want to plug real quick, hiphopzombies.com. That is the location for all things Maxx, all things Reverend Television, all things Here's the Thing, and all things
for Underground Sound representatives. You want to represent, you go to hiphopzombies.com, pick yourself up a t-shirt, maybe a sticker, and then throw a pin in your face so people know.
Just hammer it just right into your forehead. It's not that, I actually found this out. You could stick it into the forehead and it will not go through the skull.
Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, get a pin, stick it in your forehead.
Stick it directly into the center of your forehead like fucking Uzi Vert.
You take a picture.
Because you can get it that deep in if he's got a fucking stone all the way in his head, then you can get a fucking pin that far. Oh, for sure.
I'll tell you what, anybody out there who fucking shoves a hip-hop zombie pin into their face, takes a picture and sends it to us, we will definitely give you a pat on the back virtually.
Oh, yeah, and I might even give you another
We'll probably give you some merch, honestly.
I might give you another free pin, because that one pin you might not want to put into your clothes anymore. You pin that one onto the board, although at that point the board will have been your forehead.
I don't want to incentivize self-mutilation, but if you're already into it, you might as well get some free merch. You know what I'm saying?
Are you kidding me? There's plenty of chicks out there where you fucking spank that shit into their butt like a fucking spank. There you go.
So butt shots you also will get money for, too.
Oh, absolutely. Paying for the booty.
So we were talking about aliens today. What's new in the world of aliens? I feel like it's huge now, honestly.
Well, you want to know what? One of the things that I said I wanted to talk about, because I've been looking around. There aren't any, right now, anything particularly big just happened.
Well, the CIA just released fucking 1 million documents.
No, that wasn't. No, that was. I shared that. That was from 2017.
I know, but they in the COVID bill, they actually released more.
Oh, so I didn't know that.
This motherfucker's a headline motherfucker. If you guys don't know Madd Maxxx.
First of all, that is not true. I just haven't
liked
heard
the headline, and then somebody commented, so now it's fact.
It is not 100% across the board that way. It does happen. I'm not going to bullshit.
Sometimes. But no, what happened, honestly, to tell you the truth, is within the COVID relief bill that just got passed,
there's a lot of shit folded in there.
A lot of shit folded in there, and one of them was release of, I think it's 2,000 military documents, something like that. CIA.
Did that have anything to do with the Vice thing that the Loudpacks showed us?
Can you tell? You're pretty well versed in. This isn't a news story, but it's definitely a crazy story about that Russian UFO attack.
I'm still trying to find a little more information to see if that's actually confirmed or what.
Well, that's the thing is I looked into it and I wanted to tell the story. So should we tell the story? Then I'll tell you what I found out about it.
I do reasonably remember, based on what he said about it, the general outline is that in Siberia somewhere, middle of nowhere, the maybe not the KGB, the Russian military, something, came upon a downed craft. There were, I think he said, 3 or 4 beings that they encountered, and that then, however many, he said that there were 22 soldiers that were affected, so that there was obviously a decent contingent of soldiers there, and apparently these 4 beings, or 3 beings, all merged into one and then let out some kind of blast of light or something like that, and 22 soldiers were petrified, turned into limestone, basically. Like, they took them to a lab and they basically like analyzed it and said, yeah, this is limestone, basically. And the only 2 people that weren't affected were soldiers that happened to be in the silhouette of trees at the time that were not hit with the light. And so where this came from apparently were some declassified CIA documents based on a briefing that they had gotten from the KGB.
Now, what I've seen here, and this is from the Sun, they talk about how that document, which the CIA is using as like kind of proof or whatever, was a translation of a report from a Ukrainian newspaper, and that some people talk like from what I've gathered on the internet here, some people describe that Ukrainian newspaper as similar to like a Weekly World News. But listen to me though.
Right, no.
There's a recent Netflix documentary. I can't remember which one exactly, but it's one of those serial killer profile type series, and there has been actual reports within Weekly World News of like serial killers and different missing person like leads and stuff. So like within, much like everything in this life, like within a whole bunch of bullshit, sometimes there is. It reminds me of Men in Black. Remember when they were like, yo, this is the real newspaper, you know?
Oh, yeah, no, true, like, indeed. I mean,
I'm not saying Bat Boy's real, but you know what I'm...
My whole thing is this, that I absolutely, number one, agree that they always fold real information in with crazy shit so that it's harder to believe the real shit. You know, we talked about that with, like, you know, Epstein and fucking reptiles and shit.
And the fact that there's a 250-page KGB dossier on the thing means that something definitely happened. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So
I certainly think so.
The way I see a lot of these things is, like, especially, you know, in the ad, when it was just print media, you could get away with, like, spinning these stories incredibly easy. So I feel like now there has to be ramped up spin, because as fast as you can get out a story is as
but it's
fast
also
as you can discredit it.
You have to figure Russia's really good at that, at holding information down, first of all. But the fact that like that it would have happened somewhere like, again, in like Siberia or whatever, and then a Ukrainian newspaper is the one who prints it. Like, Ukraine is not exactly like heavy in the world stage, so to speak. So when something happens there, some backwoods shit can happen there, and then like it's hard to really verify that kind of shit. Like a perfect example, the serial killer, Alexander Pashushkin or whatever his name was, either him or the other one who was the werewolf, they called him. He was a cop. And who they like, finding information on them is really hard because Russia does not let shit out. They do not let.
How's
like,
there so much shit on Andrei Chikatilo then?
I mean, there is somewhat, like, there is a lot on him because I think that Russia did more in the way of like maybe
monetizing his story.
Not even so much that. I think that it was just because it was from how long ago it happened. You know what I mean? More information was... The Iron Curtain hadn't fallen by that point.
Yeah.
So a lot of information was still kind of... And especially, people didn't even really... A serial killer didn't even exist back then. They was just they were a madman. You know, like a ripper or whatever what they were... You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, prior to profiling, people just assumed that there was just like, you know, people had random attacks, and
it's also why, you know, back in the days, you know, believing in monsters and shit. But the whole thing is, to me, I'm really torn on aliens because on one hand, I absolutely unequivocally 100% believe in their existence. I believe that they do come here. I believe that they do exist here. I think that maybe some of them do, like, live among us is what you would call it. But like the whole, you know, adrenochrome and fucking the reptilians and like that level of it, like aliens are running the government, to me, based on what you would call the chaos theory and just knowing humans as they are, especially with being able to videotape and record everything nowadays, the idea that there has not been like a serious whole scale, like, no, we seen this shit for real. Like, there's no way that they could keep the secret that well for this long. And here's the other part. This is definitely something that I always say to people as far as conspiracy theories are concerned. Let's just say hypothetically that reptilian aliens are here, do run the government, do you realize that the level of power that you have just assigned to them means that they're unbeatable? Why even bother saying anything about anything if reptilian, dimensional, shifting, basically demons or whatever the like, if that exists, that have the ability to basically read your mind and teleport, basically, because I've heard that teleportation does exist. It's just more crude than they've talked about it. Like, supposedly there's some kind of teleportation that can get you to Mars. I remember hearing that. But it's also you hear these things, but you hear these things from people that like. This was my main issue.
Well, here's the thing, just to stay on brand. No, like, check it out. The fact that you did a big run-on sentence from like, we're talking about concrete, normal UFO stuff, right into aliens. This is the kind of misinformation that is generally pumped out, because I think the real nuts and bolts facts, like the 2,000-page declassified documents, the stuff that's like really real, it's always these anomalous events that cannot be explained. So people are just like generally people in power, politics, people who want to sell advertising, media, they like to go with sensational stories because then they can control the narrative. It's a lot more easier to frame it like, these are the bad guys, we're the good guys. We got to keep it secret to protect you.
Well, that's why as far as I'm concerned, that's the entire reason that the whole fucking Illuminati narrative exists, because that right there, first of all, people are more comfortable believing that the world is being, even if it's being run by some shadowy, disgusting fucking, they like put babies in blenders and shit and then pour it on themselves at the equinox.
Which with, people like Jimmy Savile and Jeffrey Epstein, there is a modicum of truth to that.
Yeah, first of all, there's a modicum of truth to child trafficking.
Amongst high-ranking government officials.
But the modicum of truth of babies in blenders being poured on them at the equinox is exactly where it's different. Because
where the information. See, that's the thing, Max. Right there is like, that is the crux of when disinformation blends in with actual facts, and then it's I don't know if it's an attempt to reconcile that there is evil to that level in this world, but
no, that's exactly what it is. First of all, people can't even reconcile that actual evil exists. That's why so many things are popular in movies and TV and shit, like that kind of darkness. And,
but that works. That works both ways, because sometimes I feel like you get to this point where you like hold a hard line, like that stuff does not exist, when I'm trying to bring up like real world concrete.
Well, you're talking about pedophiles.
Of like not just pedophiles, ritualistic abuse. Like, they have a whole island and there's like temples and shit. That's real, Max. You know what I mean?
Well, okay. So
But the problem is, if you're a fanatical kind of person, it's very easy for you to not be able to suss out all the material.
Well, yeah, but again, so this is kind of my point, though, that realistically, like the idea of, again, adrenochrome, child sacrifice, that level of shit assumes a level of power in these people that is unbeatable. Like, that literally, that level of power is not approachable. We as people, it doesn't matter, like, how they say, oh, the 1%, if all the people were really willing to work together, and that, okay, you know what, there is some truth to that on a certain level, but what you're talking about is basically, we are ants and they are a human with a foot. Like, that's literally, and that, by the way, is another one of these things where this is where, like, actual logic comes into it. If they really have that level of power, then why have they not just swooped in and taken everything? That's what they want.
Well, the reason why is, I think that, it's not as, like, tightly controlled. I think it's just a bunch of, like, loosely knit, high-profiling, influential businesses, bankers, politicians that, like, time and time again will inevitably fall, but it's usually when they're old and dying and stuff like that, because like you can only keep a secret for so long, and that they look at like a lot of people like commodities, and that like, why would you get rid of like the people who make you money? You wouldn't. So that's
it's not about. But here's the thing: you
wouldn't just mass exterminate the people, and that's
but at that level, first of all. Like, if you want to go on, to that level of things, we can talk about the Georgia Guidestones, where they say that the population of the world should never go above 500 million, which is like a 97% reduction or some shit like that. The point is that
And hasn't
they
been
don't
found-
need, first of all, they don't need that many people. Second of all, at that level, what we're talking about, what the fuck does money mean to people that literally run the planet? They don't need money. They can have literally everything that they want to have.
I think what it is that like these people have fantastical egos that like cannot be satiated. So like they do.
See, I believe that.
You know,
I believe that there are people, and I believe that there are people that like. Again,
and then there's groups of people though. Just like
think about it like this. As far as I'm concerned, there are like knowing the kinds of people that I've known in my life, and knowing the way that I've seen like certain people, like generally like fucked up people, like because I've only known a few people in my life where I could genuinely say you are a sociopath or a psychopath. But people like that,
I've
like,
known a good amount because I worked in a psychiatric.
No, I
ward,
understand
so
what
I've
I'm
seen,
saying.
Like,
Yeah, what
good
I'm
deal
no,
of delusional people, very violent.
No,
people,
I understand that. What I'm
know?
saying is that fuck. See, now I lost my train of thought. 'Cause you cut me off. Like the idea that having that level of power, again, there's nothing that regular people can do about that.
You know what a good example would be is Michael Jackson. He was the most powerful man like in the world at a point, not in the world, but he was the biggest pop star on every continent, and he was molesting children at the same time. So just take that paradigm and apply it to people who are even in greater position of power. It's okay to say that exists, and you don't have to buy into every narrative.
But that's
you
the point.
can just be like that
Nobody
exists.
First of all,
aliens,
nobody
don't, or
is
whatever.
saying but nobody is saying that it doesn't exist. At least nobody here is saying that it doesn't exist.
What
I'm saying is that the likelihood of them being like satanic, doing rituals and shit, and like wearing weird costumes while they're doing all of it, that seems unlikely.
I mean,
that seems extremely unlikely.
Why
just because Bohemian Grove exists doesn't mean that this is what everybody is doing.
So in that temple that was found on Epstein's Island, you don't think they did some ritualistic kind of shit, or did they construct a temple just to not use it?
They probably constructed it. First of all, you have to remember that that was a place where all kinds of parties were held. Who knows where they... And here's the thing. You want to talk about ritualistic...
Are we defending Jeffrey Epstein's temple?
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what's happening. No, I'm just not buying into...
Just the functionality of it.
No, I'm just not buying into the fact that they're doing stupid fucking theater.
Okay.
That's what I'm not buying into.
Well, they do it after Bohemian... Okay, you already said, like, Bohemian Grove. So if that exists, and then a temple on a private island that had people, molested that exists, don't you think they'll take that ritual and then do it in private?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay. That's cool.
Because again, this is but again, how is it that we're gonna say, oh, they fold in the weird shit with the real shit to be able to get everybody thrown off the trail, and then in that same sentence say that yes, they're like harvesting.
I think they do weird shit so then they can blackmail other people. Just like how they found a painting of Bill Clinton in a fucking dress in the island. They have
but again, that's that kind of shit to me. Where personally, like number one, I don't think Jeffrey Epstein's dead. Number one. Number two, I think that he's probably still on the island. Number three.
So that's huge right there. That shows that there's a giant connection of people to make that happen.
No, because
and that there's manipulation of media on a massive scale.
Yeah, you're right.
So those things exist.
Yeah, but that's the point. That doesn't mean that they're doing it in fucking skull masks. That's my point.
So who gives a fuck if they're in skull masks or not? They're doing it.
What do you mean? Because the kind... you want to know why? Because the only people that are actually fucking motivated to get up and do something about anything are the ones that believe QAnon shit.
Yeah.
That's why, Derek.
Okay.
Because the people that are actually interested in stepping up, getting their guns, and fighting the government believe the most insane bullshit imaginable.
But imagine if you took, like, you being a well-balanced guy, relatively...
People already have. People have gone to the greatest lengths to try to make it clear that this is exactly what's going on. Ashton Kutcher works directly with fucking saving victims of human trafficking to the point where they're trying to say on the QAnon level that he's doing that to get close to children. So at that point, like really what... Yeah, but
we literally just dropped a song that's all about how these people are
exactly. That's my point. That's the beliefs that they have.
But you don't... So the problem...
I believe that Jeffrey Epstein was raping children, has enough money to get away with whatever he wants to because...
But he did it in a suit and tie, goddammit. There was no...
you want to know why?
There was no fucking mask.
Yeah, because that's easier to believe than people doing ridiculous fucking rituals.
I think it's crazy that you're caught up on the costumes. Who gives a shit? They're raping children. They could do it in a fucking tuxedo.
Because if people actually believe the more reality behind... The reality aspect of it, as opposed to the insanity, some shit might be done about it.
Yeah, but
nothing is done about it because, like I just said...
these people run the fucking earth. Earth.
But here's the other part. The only people that are willing to pick up their guns. Do you know how depressing it is that raiding the fucking Capitol is what they chose to do? The fact that fucking the only people that are willing to pick up their guns, I am willing to fight and die for this cause, believe the insanity. They don't believe that it, because you want to know why? They are looking for the weirdos in the fucking robes. They're not looking for the people in the fucking suit and tie. Because the guy in the suit and tie is the one who is trafficking
I think
kids.
nothing for nothing. I think that's why they were going to where the people
Have you
in
seen
the suits were.
Have you seen Old Boy?
No, but I'm saying I think that they went to where the suits and ties were. They didn't go. You know what I'm saying? Like they.
No, first of all, they went to the Capitol because it happened to be there. And that was a one-time incident. We're talking about, generally speaking, a lot of these fucking QAnon people, the kind of shit that they talk about is on the level of aliens. That's what they believe, that aliens run the government, and they do it so they can get adrenochrome and mine gold so that they can fucking rebuild their planet's atmosphere.
And hold on to that thought so we can get back to the topic. I think that shit is bullshit, because the reality is that we're almost like an ant to a gigantic system of intelligence that we cannot comprehend at all, and that these people, a lot of people in power, military, stuff like that, know that fundamental truth. And so they spin these narratives to try to think that we could do anything about it. And I think that, like, because of people like Jacques Vallée, who was recently on the Joe Rogan Experience, this man is a computer scientist who literally, like, was one of the first people to develop the internet, and is an artificial intelligence pioneer. He's not just some fucking crackpot. And what he came up with after, like, researching these phenomenon since the 50s up until now is that everything from Bigfoot, Hildefolk from back in those days, like all of these anomalous events he thinks and believes are really interdimensional instances. And in us taking a lot of drugs, it's stuff that we've already gone over in our private lives, but not in the podcast. So we should definitely extrapolate on that idea, because if
I at the gathering in 2008, I took acid and saw a UFO.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
and I
but
think
this is kind of my thing. Is that, again, I think that the real problem that exists is that people are, because you want to know what? Look, let's be real here. Do you really think that the typical fucking QAnon person or the typical
we're so obsessed with QAnon.
No, because you want to know
about
why?
aliens.
Yeah, because those are the people that genuinely believe aliens run the planet.
Yeah.
Those are the people that genuinely believe that. They're also the people that believe that the Earth is flat, and that would be another reason why aliens exist, because who the fuck built a flat Earth?
Yeah.
So at that point, it's kind of like the idea.
What do you think about aliens?
What do I
Max?
think? First of all, I already said I believe they exist. I believe they're probably here. I believe they go back and forth. I believe that they've probably been here since the beginning. I believe that we were created as an extension of them to be able to fucking mine out the planet. But the question is, at this point, we got out of control.
Hold on. Not everybody's in. All right, Max, slow the fuck down. All right, you have to explain Not everybody knows the reptilian and Anunnaki, all this shit. So explain from the beginning. What's the thing with what you believe in the alien?
First of all, if you look at like actual history, like, you know, different tablets or the cave paintings and this and that, from continents away from each other at times where there is literally no possible way they could have ever fucking communicated, they have very, very similar cave drawings of these people with, like, what looks like helmets on their head and shit. Mm-hmm. So many different fucking early civilizations have stuff like that. Number two, you look at human DNA, we're like, what, Joe Rogan did the joke, we're like 97% chimp and 3% human. If you had a sandwich that was 97% shit and 3% ham, would you call that a ham sandwich? Like, the whole idea here is that it looks to me, especially with the way humans behave, we're very animalistic in the way that we are, but we're more advanced in the fact that we can actually converse and build.
Yeah, we're like sentient beings.
So at that point, what it seems like to me, like if you've ever seen Prometheus, that's the general idea. They come here, they introduce themselves into the DNA, into the primordial ooze, basically, and then as it slowly develops, and then we become, you know, we eventually rise up and evolve, because that's the way that humanity, or, you know, just life on this planet seems to operate. My main reason why I believe aliens are on this planet and why they came here and created something.
When you describe alien, what do you see in your mind? Like, what kind of, like...
Honestly, something that is... Again, have you ever seen Prometheus?
Oh, yeah.
So something along those lines, like just basically a different...
Like alpha, huge Viking almost style.
Not even necessarily bigger, but just... Here's another example. Have you ever watched Aeon Flux?
I don't think so.
Well, so there was one episode. It was the very last episode. Now there was the one main dude who Aeon was always fucking combating. I remember watching. It was on Netflix a while ago. The actual cartoon. And the very last episode, somebody shows up that basically, like, they're like an alien where they have really long legs and the fucking middle comes all the way up here, like they're really thin, and it looks like they're aliens. And the dude initially is working on making this, like, space ray or some kind of thing that, like, targets their frequency. There's a part in the show where, like, the girl, the evolved girl is having sex with this dude mentally. That's the implication. But basically what happens is, like, Aeon ends up somehow, she gets, like, you know, knocked out or cryo frozen or whatever it is, wakes up way later, looks around, all of these things, they're all humans are this. So her assumption is, oh shit, aliens took over my planet, and so now I have to go activate this thing so that I can save my planet. And then the dude is somehow still normal for whatever reason, and then he's just like, it's not like, that's not an invasion, it's called evolution, Aeon. You just killed the human race. Like, the idea of, for all we know, like I was just saying this to Chris the other day, the idea of the story of the Tower of Babel, which that story exists in more than just Christian tradition. Like, there are other different, like, primitive traditions that have a similar story. Same as how, like, almost all primitive traditions have a flood myth to some extent. Like,
what is the Tower of Babel?
The Tower of Babel is supposedly a story where all of humanity was united and we were building a tower into heaven to meet God. God said no, and then knocked everybody down, scattered them out, and then caused them all to have different languages so they could never work all together and challenge God again.
Oh, that's like the Lemuria myth, you know that one?
But that's, well, and this is kind of what I'm saying.
It's all similar. There's always, you know, they taught us Pangea when we were
Well, but
in
this is
school.
what I'm getting at. I honestly think that Atlantis, quote unquote, was Pangea, like this wall-to-wall continent-sized city, and then they were coming up with, like, who knows, the Higgs boson, or fucking maybe they cracked time travel, or whatever it is, some insane power, something like that, and it just fractured the planet and killed everything on it, and then we had to start over.
I think because,
and that to me also makes sense to the idea of some people would have made it out because a civilization that advanced would have found a way off the planet, but because the whole idea here is that Earth is so unique in all of the elements of the universe are here in one way or another. We have liquid oceans where all this life exists. We have the ability where life evolved supposedly from out of the ooze, or even life evolved on this planet to a point where it could be affected by some kind of genetic engineering we don't understand to create this, like, I believe it to an extent like humanity was created as a slave race to, like, help, like, mine and maintain the planet because of how much rich resource was in it. Think about how long.
So how do you think these people, and are they the same aliens that, is it different aliens?
Well, and you want to know, see, that's the part where it starts to get murky, because if you look at some of the old,
it's
like,
hard to subscribe to one of these theories without going down, like,
the Sumerian tablets and Zechariah Sitchin and all that shit. Like, when you look at the Babylonian tablet that has the solar system. And it's like, how the fuck could they have known that? They're the first civilization.
See,
like,
you know what I think? You know what I think of? Because it sounds to me like you believe in, like, a nuts and bolts physical beings came down and, like, manipulated it.
I mean, and the main reason for that is because at this point, I look at it where it would have been so much easier to maintain back then, because they obviously would have been intelligent enough to be like, these are basically animals. And so eventually they're going to evolve, and eventually they're going to get to a point. But for right now, we can get done what we need to get done. Which to me is one of these things, like, you know, we were talking about this the other day, how there are pyramids on every continent. Yeah. Every continent.
And you know, this is...
And they're aligned so perfectly with stars. It's just like, how do you do that? Things like the pyramids, things like Pumapunku, things like the Incan pyramids,
Chichen
Mayan
Itza, all that. I've seen that in person. It was crazy.
That
actually.
Kind of shit is just when you look at it and really think, we can't do it with modern technology, but somehow they could do it with fucking picks and chisels and axes. Well, that doesn't make sense.
Well, that's why, like, there's a couple different theories within, you know, aliens and stuff like that. And mine, I already had this idea when I started really dabbling in psychedelics and stuff, but then through various podcasts and websites, got into this Jacques Vallée guy, and I really do think about the interdimensional theory, and I think that
that's practically been proven.
Yeah, well, because like I think that like it might be like.
Well, let me ask you this: are you familiar with the holographic theory?
What's the holographic?
The holographic theory is that the universe is a hologram.
Oh yeah, like the simulation theory and stuff like that.
Not so much. That you want to know what? That they're probably akin to each other in some way, but the holographic theory was something that I think it was either Niels Bohr or I think the guy's last name was Pribram, something like that, because I've read the book. It's basically the idea that, like, if you take a holographic picture, holographic film, and you cut it in half, you don't get a picture, half the picture is here, the bottom half of the apple is here, and the top half is here. It's the exact same picture, it's just faded and distorted. So the idea basically is that, like, the essence of the entire universe resides within every atom, basically. And that we are all just a projection of energy, like Bill Hicks, It's All a Ride.
Yeah,
that's kind of where that comes from.
I subscribe to that thought, and I think aliens, extraterrestrials are, just to like get this out, like I think that aliens, extraterrestrials are some like entities that exist outside of that reality, and that we access them through different like means of like chemical gateways, whether it's through meditation or because like also the common thing besides pyramids and these structures is there's generally bags of psychedelic materials, and they all talk about using the materials, communing with these intelligences, and then a lot of art inventions.
Well, I don't know if you ever saw the DMT documentary, The Spirit Molecule, but they talk about... I
saw it burning in a pipe that I was smoking.
No, that's not... I've done DMT too, Derek. That's not what I'm talking about.
I seen the fucking thing too.
I don't know, then just say I've seen it.
I also seen What the Bleep Do We Know, which also...
What the Bleep Do We Know is really unfortunate because I've done some reading into it, and apparently the general opinion of most, like, actual quantum physicists and scientists is that movie is full of bullshit.
Yeah.
Man, here's my
deaf lady from Seinfeld, and I would totally spank it to her.
Marley Matlin
I did crank it to her a couple times, actually.
Marley Matlin is cool, but no, my thing was this, that just consider this, where number one, what we consider to be aliens could very easily be interdimensional beings, could very easily be like, I've heard people talk about what in either the Mahabharata or the Bhagavad Gita, they talk about the Vimana, the holy, like, transport where they would see these things flying, where that I've seen people talk about how that could just be people that have mastered the interdimensional energy, and that's how they move. Like, if you ever want to really get into it, like the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita, they're basically like, well, two things. Number one, they're basically like, for the Hindu, they're basically like the Bible, more or less. Like, that is their origin myth, and like their whatever. The Hindu religion is fascinating, but the thing is, there was a city that they talk about, I think, in the Mahabharata. I wish I could remember what it was called right now, but they found the city, and finding it was basically akin to finding
Noah's
Atlantis,
Ark or something.
basically.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, supposedly they found Noah's Ark, but
whatever, bro.
Yeah, exactly. My whole thing is this: that just consider this, like we're talking about other dimensions, because I would almost sooner believe dimensional travel than just physical propulsion. We can move physically between this whatever, but. Like, that's what fucking Event Horizon was about. But
a dope movie.
Consider the fact of this, that we only see in 3 dimensions. I saw a video once called, like, either Unlocking or Understanding the 10th Dimension, and it talks about how, like, the idea of dimensional travel relates to, like, the multiverse, more or less, because it comes down to the idea of every thought you've ever had that basically created a branch universe somewhere. It's just a matter of we have no ability to navigate them. We, like, the idea of, technically speaking, like, I'm moving my hand from here to here. Technically, in a different dimension, that me from here and every millisecond where it came down here physically still exists back in that same, like, again, the holographic theory talks about shit like that, where, like, could you imagine that we have not only an infinite number of universes, but then however many different dimensions of each universe? Like, that's why people have been able to come up with these ideas of, like, you know, like Rick and Morty, like where you come up with just a fucking universe where everything is a butt.
Yeah.
Or a planet where everything is on the cob. You know what I'm saying?
Similar, like, and I'm on book 7, so don't kill it for me, but it's similar to Dark Tower theory.
No, dude, you know what's
pretty
funny?
much is the Dark Tower.
No, he was one of the first people to really, I mean, if you look at the time frame, he wasn't first, because he started to introduce that, like, later in the books, when people started to talk about it more and popular, but...
I mean, even in the second one, he was talking about, like, kind of interdimensional travel, when he's in Eddie's head on the plane and
No,
shit.
that is true. The
tutor
astral
fish.
projection and stuff like that. Oh, yeah, no,
yes,
I know.
the tutor fish.
Just fucking... Oh, no, I always thought it was so great that he gets to have one movie of being the straight-up gunslinger, and then they literally fucking ice his gun hand.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, oh, yeah, no, figure out how to use your gun with the other hand, jackass.
Yeah.
Like, but the whole thing is that, especially... and you'll
You gotta
see,
do a Dark Tower series.
Yeah, and you'll see when you actually get all the way through it, you'll see what I mean. Is that's basically what they're talking about, is that, like...
I mean, they really nail it home when they go to Stephen King's house, and then he's like, "Yo, you are literally a creation on a fucking, you know what I mean?" Like, and he has a
but that's kind of my point. Is that
great? Anybody out there, if you haven't read the fucking Dark Tower series, you should go ahead and do that.
But one thing is just that, again, as far as aliens are concerned, my main thing is I've read different things where they say there's different kinds of aliens that are here. There's the reptilians and the greys.
Yeah, because you said you think
the Pleiadians or plebeians or fucking
and the Pleiadians.
Pleiadians.
Yeah, they're the good ones.
Oh, well, so that's kind of what I mean. Is that you want to know what?
Well, you're the one. You said you think aliens are here. So why don't you tell me what aliens are those?
Honestly, that's the part. Is that at that point I only go with as much as I feel like actually makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. Past that, I don't try to act.
What makes sense to you? When
that's something that in the vastness of the universe that we are not the smartest thing out there, but we are so resource rich that we basically we like glow to the rest of the universe. And they're like, oh, there's some shit there that we can use back home, which is why, like, this planet is so resource rich compared to so many other planets in such a wide radius that we've seen, and we haven't even seen that much. So,
it makes sense because, like, abductions. You believe in abduction stories?
Well, I mean, the thing is, some of them. Obviously, some of them are pretty bullshit. But like I said, the song I did, Black Triangles, talks about this one that I heard about on a podcast where supposedly this person is abducted from their home and then, like, you know, experiences the abduction, and I remember exactly what they did to her, like, couldn't breathe for a while, whatever, but then drops them off like 600 miles away from where they were, and the sun hadn't even come up. It's like, how the fuck can you possibly travel that fast? No car, a plane couldn't get you that far, like, not that fast, like, it just couldn't happen.
Have you ever heard of the Missing 411? Missing 411?
No.
Basically, it's this book that was written by this dude, David Pleiades, actually, and he it talks about how there's an insane amount of disappearances from national parks all over the world,
right?
And it's like a lot. It's really tightly kept in America, like these disappearances in national parks, and they're all very similar.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, so I feel like abductions do happen, and I feel like it's more the same way we tag animals. We'll go down, snatch up an animal, tag it, you know.
I've seen a couple of videos. Like, I wish I could find this one specific one that I saw. I don't even know where it was taken, so I couldn't help finding it. But there's a video of some lights flying around some crops, and then you see just a circle kind of appear in the fucking crops, like, and then they're all just being pushed down by like sonic resonance, basically.
And that's what's crazy, because in the 90s,
and it looked like some shit like you couldn't fucking fake that. How could you even do that?
Well, do you remember in the 90s when they exposed the crop circle people out in England?
Some of them. There were
the people who had the boards, and they would walk around and they would do like perfect. But here's my thing: is I think that, like, this is like real shit that people are just trying to like replicate. You know what I mean? Like, I think that somebody did see crop circles. I think that there are lights in the sky, and I do believe that abductions happen. Like, I don't know if you ever heard about this a UFO attack in Brazil. Have you ever heard about this?
I don't think that I did.
This is crazy. In 1977 in Colores, Brazil, which is like close to the end of the Amazon River.
Right.
There was like a 7-month long what they call UFO flap. That's when they call like a bunch of sightings. They refer to it as a flap in the ufologist world. But 1977, Colores, Brazil, there was a series of attacks, like hundreds, to the point where the Brazilian government had to get involved. And they started an operation called Operation Saucer, which produced a 2,000-page military report, 500 photographs, and over 16 hours of footage, including various lights in the sky.
How much of this is declassified? Like how much?
All of it, because only a certain amount. Because in 1986, the Brazilian government did what we did similarly, declassified all the documents. But like just like how when the CIA declassifies documents, if you go on CIA.gov, a lot of the information, it's a lot of it is blacked out and stuff too.
Redacted. Yeah.
So basically, this attack, because usually when you hear about UFOs, you hear about like it's kind of benign, like maybe you get experimented on, the old probe here or there. Shout out to Waitley Strieber and his abused butthole. But never like this. People were getting abducted with hooks. Not just beams of light, and it's crazy because the progression of attacks went from hooks to beams of light. And now I heard a theory on a podcast that this goes to the multi-dimensional theory, where if it's a projection, much like the South Park episode where they go to meet the aliens and it's a shitting taco,
right?
Sometimes I think that there's a particular breed of alien that literally conforms to your subconscious, and that's the way it manifests in this reality. And this is a fishing village.
I don't know.
I think a lot of people have like fishing in their subconscious. So like when they see like the beam of light is the uniform ground basis real thing in all realities, but then how it projects itself and manifests, it's probably like a circuit where
there's been other experiences in other places where things like not hooks, but let's say in some other places.
In Japan they seen UFOs again, like ocean, like they come out of the oceans, and that's a big fishing like.
Well, yeah, but I mean, again, technically speaking, with the hooks and whatnot, I mean, you know what? The first thing that I hear when I hear Brazil, people being abducted by hooks in UFOs, Nazis.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that I think of, because they talked about all the time that potentially there was a downed craft in Poland during World War II, and they were like the Bell, if you ever heard of that. Where the Germans were supposedly working on this thing where it was like maybe it could travel through dimensions, or it could travel through time, or it could just levitate, whatever. But there was, for a long time, they were saying that Nazis had UFOs. I've actually seen something. I remember physically seeing this, that there was this thing, basically. It was like a cherry picker? You know what that is?
Oh, yeah.
Basically a cherry picker with no apparatus flying through the sky. And it was a military thing from ages ago. They've said a long time ago that these flying saucers, like that would make sense to me, where somebody like Bob Lazar finds this technology, they reverse engineer it, and no, they can't get it to leave the planet. But if they could get it to, like, think about it, the idea of stopping and turning on a dime where a plane straight up cannot do that, just the aerial superiority you can have in that. The only problem is that when people start actually seeing them on the battlefield, in an engagement, you actually have to answer for it. So at that point, you can't really be out front about it. But to me,
that's probably why they're trying to get ahead of themselves with all this declassifying shit now. So then when they put the new toys out, then it's like, oh yeah, remember we told y'all we were reversing, and alien technology, and now here it is.
I mean, again, I definitely do believe that there is some kind of alien presence in this world to some extent.
Well, during this attack, there was also over 60 cases of people coming into this different hospitals with what appeared to be radiation burns.
Right. And
these attacks started out as hooks and then escalated to beams of light. And the beams of light, I seen those photos. They actually declassified some of the photos of the beams of light, and it looks like your classic saucer, like right there.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean? Like that's so. Like I feel like some of these. I feel like there's nuts and bolts physical real aliens, and I think that there's almost like thought clouds essentially, and that they know how to manifest in almost like 3D printing. Imagine this. Imagine if I was in one universe and I found a way to wormhole to another one, but I couldn't get myself there. If I could put like a 3D printer in the sky, which would be this, and then it prints out like a physical thing that could represent my interests while I'm in another dimension.
I mean, I feel like that's a narrative stretch. Like that takes a lot, but one way or another, my whole thing is this:
Hey man, humans are mining for gold in your story, so fucking.
Well, yeah, but okay, so what you mean? Like an extremely precious metal that is like one of the main reasons that we have things like the internet and computers. Like gold is a huge reason why any of this technology exists, and that's one of the main reasons why they say they came to this planet to mine precious metals. Because if you look at it, silicon rich. Cadmium, lithium, all these different things. These are used in high technology.
Yeah. So what if it's this is a theory that's been trampled over and over again. What if it's future humans coming back and then telling us you need to mine these metals so then you can advance?
I mean, it could be that. It could also be that like humans, we're all in the simulation because humanity got to a matrix point where everything was fucked up, and they're like, we got to put everybody to sleep until we can figure this shit out. Like that, and here's the other part: that the simulation theory is well held by like high scientific minds in the world. Like a lot of really intelligent people are like, oh yeah, that's definitely a high possibility. The only problem is if we live in a simulation, all data that we ever get will be simulated, and therefore we can't prove it.
We'll never know.
We'll never be able to prove it conclusively if we live in a simulation or not. Because if we found data to prove that we're in a simulation, that data was simulated.
That's why I feel like you get little like pockets of chemicals, whether it's through self-induced or through
paranormal shit.
Exactly,
it explains all of it.
Yeah, simulation theory fills in all the gaps. So,
well, simulation theory fills in the gaps. Multiverse theory fills in all the gaps. The holographic theory fills in all the gaps. It's just, again, my whole thing is that based on the history of the world, the way that in the primitive world, think about it like this. Humans really figured out or decided on their own in South America around the same time as Christopher Columbus, which is what, not even 500 years ago? Not even 600 years ago? They were compelled to sacrifice, I'm probably getting the number wrong, but we'll just say, because this is a high enough number, 10,000 people in a day.
Wow.
They fucking were compelled to do that on their own. Build a gigantic fucking pyramid with all the same kind of celestial fucking arrangements that we've talked about, and then fucking sacrifice their people on that. Like that's just, like, it's just, what fucking well, where did they come up with that? Why the fuck would they have thought that straight up murdering people on top of a pyramid would give them favor towards something or make the fucking crops grow better? Like, how the fuck does that make literally any sense? And again, like I said, the fact that if you look back at the kinds of people, primitive cave-dwelling people, that did not have the ability to, like, they weren't writing stories on the fucking cave paintings. They were drawing the shit that they saw. That's why so many of them are animals. But in so many different places, like in Utah and then in China, and I think maybe in Australia, like so many of these places that they could not have communicated. No possible way that they could have communicated at this period in time. They are drawing things on cave walls that look almost exactly the same. The Native Americans and tribal Africans have so many fucking different gods, deities, and representations on figurines and busts and reliefs that look like people with fucking helmets on. Like, all of them. It's insane. And at that point, you have to look at, like, that's the part about it to me that makes me believe that it's true. Is that when you look at, this doesn't require a huge logical leap. These were people that did not have the ability to communicate with each other, that were reporting what they saw. And what they saw was people that looked like they had big fucking helmets on with huge eyes in the front, which to me sounds like some kind of spacesuit apparatus. There's all kinds of shit. That's why Ancient Aliens was even a thing, because there's so many different pieces of evidence and so many these different things. Derin Kuyu is a really good example in Turkey, this completely crazy underground city where Loudpacks was talking about the other day, Coral Castle. You ever heard of that?
No.
So it's this thing, it's in Florida, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you told me about Coral Castle.
So one thing that he said about it that made me think was the idea that they took down a stone to renovate it or to restore it, and they could not get it back up. No fucking way of having, they could not make it happen, and they brought in engineers, and they're like, we can't make this happen. And that, to me, what he was talking about, it was just this massive stone, and all you had to do is push it and it would open. A door, all you do is push it and it would open. It's like not even necessarily like, not even like on a hinge or whatever. It's just that's done that way. Derin Kuyu was this underground city, I'm pretty sure it's in Turkey, where like legit, they had these doors that like gigantic boulders, and you can only open them from one side. You can only open and close them from one side. Like, it looks like a place where they would have lived, where if they needed to run underground because some crazy shit was coming from above. There's also the fucking the Nazca lines. Like,
dude.
What the fuck was the purpose of that? Who's looking at that? There's the mountain that looks like it has the top of it shaved off, like it was a fucking runway. There's no way that could happen naturally. That long? Like, that's good. Like, you want to know what the crazy thing is to me? I honestly believe at a certain point that aliens, if they ever do legitimately show up, I honestly feel like some of the communication that they're going to have with us is, wait, you seriously couldn't tell? How do you think that happened?
Yeah.
I will say there's this one theory that I really love where it's just like, there's no way that it could be true because there's no root system and trees don't work that way. But there's this gigantic like stone pillar, I think somewhere in America, and it's basically like almost a mountain practically, like chimney rock type thing. Mm-hmm. But the way that it looks is they make it look like it was Yggdrasil or something, like the world tree. Mm-hmm. Like just this tree that was like a mile tall. Like, I love the idea of shit like that. Like, wouldn't it be awesome if we found out that Olympus Mons was a pyramid?
That would be fucking...
How fucking crazy would that be? Look at the thing. It's fucking perfectly set. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, to me, like, Mars, every time I look at Mars, it's the same thing as, like I said, with the Atlantis thing, Tower of Babel, blowing ourselves back to the Stone Age, or blowing us back to fucking single-celled organisms. Like, Mars just looks like a planet that was just scorched. You know
100%. You can tell.
And so at that point, it's just like, how the fuck did that happen, right? Like, so let's actually take a quick break. We've obviously gone super, super long just based on the fact that aliens is, we could probably do a double episode on this
24
topic.
24 hours of aliens.
Yeah, right? 24 years of aliens. But,
I've already done 32 years of aliens.
Really? 35 on this side. What we're going to do now is pass the pipage. And,
look at all that, Keith. Holy shit.
Oh, yeah. Try to go to fucking space, bro.
Let's do it. Hey, we're talking aliens.
Exactly. Case in point. I wish we had the miracle alien cookies, man. Those are fucking, orange miracle alien cookies.
Yeah, man, that's
fucking
a fire
smoke
strain.
weed. You smoke weed like that and you believe aliens are real, fucking, you see some. But no, we're going to do this, and then we're just going to continue to talk some craziness, maybe some hypothetical situations regarding aliens. It's just going to get weird, you know.
Yeah, so you said you seen an alien, not an alien, but you seen a UFO when you were tripping at the gathering?
Yep, 2008, the year that I played.
Oh, man, what a great year that was, dude. I had so much fun. Do you remember when all the butterflies were all around the motherfucker? I don't know if that was 2008, but...
Oh, the gathering 2008. 2008 was just a horrible year in general.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I had a blast in 2008. I was recording Nobody's Famous, the first Ragdown mixtape with Outland Camp. Having a grand old time.
Oh, looks like the dog decided she wanted to...
Foxy! Yo, Madd Maxx's dog is like literally the most adorable fucking dog in the world.
Oh yeah, she's awesome. Protector of cats. Chaser of tails. She doesn't really do that.
Holy shit. Madd Maxx just pulled 3 lighters at once out of his pocket.
He didn't buy any of them.
And he doesn't own one, but he has 3.
Huh? Okay,
you do the
this
math.
one I don't think. This one, oh, maybe it was this one. Because this one, I guess, no, I think this one is yours. Because I don't think I would buy that.
Yo, honestly,
it's got a little, kind of like a background, like a desert background with a feather on it. It's like, it's cool, but I didn't see myself buying
I've
this.
seen a few UFOs, and I've seen 2 last year. And one of them was a fucking black pyramid just going through the fucking sky.
Oh, wow.
It was crazy. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. I'm driving down the highway, and it's the middle of the day. And I'm not, like, we had a joint, but we hadn't even started smoking it yet. We were about to start smoking it, so it wasn't high. You know, I am crazy, but, like, my girlfriend seen it as well, who is not
Vicky
crazy.
seen this?
Vicky seen it as well.
Wow.
And Vicky, my girlfriend Vicky... shout out to Vicky. She's pretty skeptical. She's open-minded though, but you have to. She has to see it. She needs proof, and she's like, She couldn't believe it. She was like, "Yo, did we just see a fucking a pyramid floating through the sky?" And I was like, "Yeah," because it like we were trying to like my mind thought it was a drone, and then when I like looked at, I'm like did a double take, and it was we were driving on the highway, and it was going this fast, like it went from the left side of my vision to the right side of my vision in probably 1 or 2 seconds. That's fast. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, to cut all the way across the sky
my
that
entire
fast?
field of vision.
Well, because think about it, the amount of distance that actually. This is why UFO shit is so crazy to people, is because. Hear that little message.
I know.
I always forget that. I keep forgetting to fucking.
You hear it throughout, so you might as well keep it in there.
Yeah, right. But
yeah,
the idea.
Actually, no, for real. Turn that off because you're getting blown up right now.
If you were to consider the actual distance.
Nice.
Of yeah, right. Oh, hey, what are you gonna do?
I don't blame. Okay.
Fucking the amount of time that it would actually take, like think about it, like when you see a plane, how long does it take an airplane to get from there
across your whole field of vision? Probably like 20 seconds, probably
more than that, even like to cut all the way across the sky.
Definitely not as fast as I seen this.
And that's
shit, dude.
the whole thing is that the reason why these kinds of like. And people see this and they think that that's what I mean, because the propulsion systems that supposedly exist. The reason why, when I saw what it was a UFO, was because. And here's the thing.
And this wasn't a triangle. This was a pyramid.
No, I understand.
You know what I mean?
Well, the reason why I know that what I saw was a UFO is because I wasn't the only one who's seen it. I was with somebody. She was also tripping. But just because we're also tripping means you're going to see the same fucking thing I see.
Nah, I believe too that like
it thins the wall.
Yeah, 100%. And the amount of research that's going in, and in Massachusetts, it's on the bill. Researched into psychedelic chemicals. I really do think that there's some kind of like. You know how you see heat waves? You know what I mean? I think that there's some kind of like light refracting something that when you're on certain chemicals, it sharpens it, and you see it.
I don't know that. It's
maybe you have more of a
I
predilection to seeing these things. I don't know.
Well,
or you could just be fucked up.
No, you want to know what? I think that it's like the thing about psychedelics is that it opens. I honestly think that it opens like that's what the spirit molecule is all about. It opens parts of your brain and makes you privy to and like makes you aware of things you wouldn't typically be aware of. And again, my thing is what I was saying when I seen it. The reason why is because as fast as it cut across the sky.
What did it look like?
It was just a light.
What was it? Night?
All the way. So yeah, it was at nighttime.
Yeah.
It was a star basically. It looked like a star, but a star can't move that fast. A plane can't move that fast.
And it did a zigzag?
It went across the sky with me just like utterly losing my mind as I watch it. Like, am I seeing this right now? And I was just like, I asked her like, do you see this? Are you seeing this right now? And she said, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just like. And now again, I was on gel tab acid, so
which is very good acid.
Holy shit! Got it from Tracy actually.
Nice.
But fucking just again with every different thing that I've seen as far as aliens are concerned.
I seen another one last year too.
To me it makes sense that they're out there. I'm at a point where. I haven't seen anything like broad specific but I also like I gotta tell you I'm usually just very in the moment, just kind of living my life. I'm not as, and I honestly believe that there's truth to this, I don't mentally put as much thought into the idea of the existence of aliens, and I think that that's definitely that kind of thing where if you really put strong thought into it all the time, that's something that something out there could potentially feel.
And that's what Stephen Greer talks about. You know who Stephen Greer is? No. He's this guy that's wicked controversial in the UFO world because he...
controversial in the UFO world.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because he does these retreats, and here's the thing: like it's like a couple grand to go to these retreats, but every time everyone does these group meditations, and then these fucking lights appear in the fucking sky. And there's a documentary. I'll show you the link. It's on Prime. And in the least, it's a good watch. Get stoned and watch because like they film it. They're meditating, and then these fucking lights appear. You know, like
I hadn't talked about it earlier. It popped into my head, but one of the first things that I ever found, and I'll try to find it on YouTube again. It was a YouTube series, just a long series, like maybe 100 of them, I can't even remember how many, but it was called The Antichrist Dajjal, Dajjal. The Antichrist Dajjal will be a reptilian shapeshift.
What does Dajjal mean?
I'm not sure exactly. Here's the thing. The video was made by a group called Hashem's Films, and the dude who was doing it he was a Muslim. Like there was always they were doing the intonations. I can't do it myself, but like when they're praying and singing, you like in certain cities they play it over loudspeakers at certain parts of the day. Like it's Muslim basically, but he was breaking it down of how like the jinn are like these shadow people.
Oh yeah, I know about
shadow
the jinn. I've seen Wishmaster.
Well, no, but it's like.
I'm just fucking around.
No,
but
fair
like,
enough. But
it is a good.
But
movie.
so no, it is. Fucking Kane Hodder. Kane Hodder gets killed as a security guard.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, somebody else. I think Robert Englund might have been in that movie too.
Yeah, I think he was one of the prisoners.
Because they were trying to get horror movie people in that movie. I digress. With this whole thing, you want to know what the main thing that had got me thinking about, and this is the really fucked up part about it, is it started talking about, like reptilian aliens and this kind of stuff, where it's like, all right, fine. We've obviously been over how I feel about that. At the very least, the idea of reptilians, as many people and QAnoners talk about it.
This is that video by Hashem.
Yeah, they talk about this kind of stuff, but this is what I'm saying. They say something about having like the Antichrist like already is like alive or whatever, but the whole thing was like they talk about Stargate science and how that is like the pinnacle of sacred science, of forbidden science, is Stargates. And here's the thing.
That was a CIA declassified project.
I bet it was.
Project
and here's
Stargate.
and here's the other part.
It's all about remote viewing.
That's one of the aspects of these kinds of things. This is what I'm saying. That what they talk about, and they show all this different fucking symbolism that is so hard to ignore. I still see it to this day. The black and white checkerboard pattern. Two pillars on two sides and then everything converging at the middle. Like the amount of this shit that you see when you see it and then you know what it actually means.
Oh, you see the patterns replicated over and over again.
That's my point. It gets fucking crazy. And I had to hang back at a certain point because
you become like Jim Carrey in number 23.
Exactly. Numbers are actually, I mean, again, a thing that's crazy to me. Like my birthday date 911985, that adds up to 33. My father's birthday 911949 also adds up to 33. And I don't know what my grandfather's birth date actually is, but who knows? You know what I mean? And 33 is a very significant number.
Yeah, because you are a 33 degree Mason.
Oh yeah,
right?
Clearly.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I'm saying.
I wasn't allowed to the ritual, but he bragged about it.
Numbers are very important to all these different kinds of things to some extent, and I just like.
Are you kidding me? It's the language of the universe. Numbers are huge.
Exactly.
It's what it's all based off of. Yeah.
Point.
And I don't understand numbers. So
well, that's it. You want to know what? Like one of the things that I do, because each number kind of has a loose variation or loose interpretation of what its presence signifies.
Mm-hmm. What does 9 mean? 9 is my favorite number.
9 is completion, revolution, ending.
Oh.
Because, and here's the other thing.
What does that mean to me? What does that speak of my psychology?
I mean, it could mean that, like, I'm just spitballing here. It's not like I know. But
you're Max Young.
The whole thing is that you have to figure it like this.
I meant that to be a joke, but your name is actually Young, so, like, with a J.
That's fun. I know. Imagine that. I love it. No, but so first of all, consider this. Technically speaking, there really are only two numbers, 0 and 1. Mm-hmm. Everything else is just an addition or subtraction, division of that. But 1 is just existence. 0 is nothingness. 1 is existence. That's binary. You know what I'm saying? But then from there, 2 is supposed to be like the whole idea here is that 9 is a number where when you multiply it, the numbers will always add up to 9. If you take, like, let's just say hypothetically, because I'm thinking this in my head, we'll take a look here. So 12648 times 9 equals 113832. 1123, that's 5, 13. Let me make sure I got this number right. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 3 is 5. 5 plus 8 is 13. 13 plus 3 is 16. 16 plus 2 is 18.
Wow.
8 plus 1 equals 9.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Every single time you do you multiply something by 9, that happens.
That's so crazy.
And that's also 666. 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18, which equals 9. So again, 9 is the inverse of 6, where 3 plus 3 equals 6. 6 is like, I always like felt like, well, anyway, the more so I guess the 33 is because that's the difficult thing, because everything goes down to a singularity, supposedly. Everything can be broken down to one number. And like every time I get gas, I've only like pushed myself a couple of times recently. First of all, the gas and the number, the gas, the price and the gallons both have to be either end in a 5 or a 0, first of all. And then once I get to that, I will, and I literally, I don't care. I can be in a rush. I can be like, what I will keep like just doing this until I finally get to the right number. And then when I'm done with that, I add them all up, and then I get down to the single number and then try to figure out what that represents for where I'm going. Because the idea of like order from chaos, that's what tarot is, that's what the I Ching is, that's what...
I got so into that because of you. The I Ching is huge.
Yeah,
anybody's lost out there, I recommend the I Ching.
No, the
you can
I Ching
look it up, buy it online.
You want to know what's actually really funny? I'm realizing this now. One of the things that I did recently, I did a I Ching trying to a reading, like what's going on for me this year. And it was weird because the actual individual hexagrams, I can't remember exactly what they were. I had it written down somewhere.
I keep a book of them when I do it.
Obviously. Yeah. I can't remember where I wrote it down, but basically what it was talking about was the first one was like wandering, like just being out there, being a wanderer. And then it was a moving hexagram where one of the lines was a changing line. So then the next one after that was something like retreat, returning home.
Just to hold up, to put a pin in this, the I Ching, to break it down real quick, is like a divination kind of system.
Chinese.
Yeah, and
super ancient, older than the Bible.
It's like tossing coins. The coins symbolize different numbers, and then the numbers correlate with
numbers.
Yeah,
there you go.
Exactly.
Numbers.
And then the numbers
6, 7, 8, or 9.
The numbers correlate with these different numbers. Hexagrams.
There's a bottom trigram and a top trigram. You'd read from bottom to top, and because the trigram 3, hexagram, so that makes 6 lines. Each one is 6 lines. This one's 17.
He's pointing to a tattoo on his chest.
Which is ironic, because 17, Juggalo shit, I got it right before I went to the 2008 gathering, I'm pretty sure, which that whole situation was fucked up. We can maybe talk about that one day. But, no, basically...
So anyways, you threw the I Ching for this year, and what did it say?
Well, like I said, the first hexagram was, again, I'd have to find it to get the exact numbers of what it was. That would make more sense. But the first one was the wanderer, like traveling, going. And then the second one was retreating, going away, or coming home. And when I read the actual individual lines, it paints not an awesome picture, sort of, like... Most of the time, the I Ching says a lot about being firm and correct, or the superior man, which basically means you have to behave like a good person. You have to take the high road. You have to, be selfless, be the superior man. And as long as you do that, you'll be able to, there's crossing of the great stream or crossing of the river, which is supposed to be a reference to like, achieving great goals or going through a difficult situation or transition, because crossing a river can be difficult.
That's why it's great.
But think about that. The whole point
is what it stands for, and it's a great way to deal with change.
Exactly.
Anybody's
change
out there
is chaos,
listening,
because
and it's hard to get by. Look into the I Ching.
Because the world is constantly changing and is chaotic. You take one of the most chaotic things you can do. A coin flip is complete chaos. Just 50-50. Yeah. Take 3 coins. Like I said, 3 is an important number. Shake them around, boom.
That's the root of 9.
Yeah, and this is my point. You throw it, just lands however it is. That is absolute chaos. And then out of that chaos comes order.
So just so people listening...
but let me get to the point of what I was trying to say, which is that with what we're planning on doing, it's interesting to me that when I say what's my plans for the year, the hexagram, the first one is wandering and traveling, and then the second hexagram is returning home. What does that sound like?
It sounds like exactly what we're doing.
Exactly. So,
mine said to be to fall back more or less and let everybody
sometimes you have these situations where you don't necessarily, you need to kind of let things come to you.
Yeah.
Where like probably a good metaphor would be, if you're in the water thrashing around, you might throw your trajectory off as the river is carrying you wherever, as opposed to if you just kind of float back and let the water take you, then sometimes you'll end up in a better spot because you're just letting the universe take, because we're all at the mercy of the fucking universe anyway.
Oh, 100%. That's why. Shout out! This is a paid ad for the I Ching Book of Changes from Madd Maxxx. And
I was gonna say who's getting paid when a copy of that sells.
The universe, bro.
Yeah, really,
people are
right?
getting their shit together.
And,
we should bring it back to aliens. We're talking about the I Ching.
Yeah, but you want to know what though? Well, first of all, we're high. That's what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is, to me, I honestly look at a lot of these things where something like the I Ching, because especially being that China is one of the oldest civilizations, their technological advances were pretty
that's
vast.
the first discovery of cannabis was in China.
Oh, I actually didn't know that. That's fantastic. Coming full circle.
Oh, 100%.
But to me, from all the things that I've ever seen on like Ancient Aliens and the things that I've read into it, it's like, to me, my main. I wish I could remember the name of it. You want to know what? Let's see if the internet wants to be my friend today. What is the name of the theory that can... Oh, not the theory, hold on. What is the name of the formula that proves aliens exist?
Is this the Fermi paradox or whatever?
The Drake equation is a probabilistic argument used to estimate the number of active communicative extraterrestrial civilizations in the universe. So the Drake equation, which basically... I would have to look deeper into it, but the general idea, mathematically, as big as we have observed the universe to be, which we haven't even seen a lot of the universe, but as big as we have perceived it to be, as infinitely large as it is at that point, mathematically, with what we have seen with planets and stars and this and that, of how far, it is mathematically impossible that we are the only fucking civilization.
Oh, I wouldn't believe that for one second.
And that's, to me, and I used to say this when I was a kid. Like, I might have been in grade school the first time I said this, because when I was young, like, I was always in the library reading books on aliens and Bigfoot and all that shit.
The Troll Book Fair, I remember getting my first... You remember Troll Book Fair?
I don't. We had book fairs at my school, but no, this was like... The library, just for whatever reason, had a bunch of books on just paranormal shit.
That's all. Yeah, because of the book fairs, that's how I got into the occult, aliens, everything at a young age.
But this is what I'm saying is just, I always used to say when I was younger, it is and other people have said this, so maybe I heard it and said it, so I'm not even trying to take credit. But it is the peak of human arrogance. The peak of human arrogance to say not only are we potentially the smartest, not only are we potentially the only beings in this entire impossibly vast universe, but if we're not, we're also the smartest. We can't even get along with each other.
It's pretty egotistical.
Like, we aren't even able to communicate with each other in a way to the point where we can just... The amount of resource that exists on this planet that is hoarded for only a few. I can't remember who it was that broke it down, but there's enough for every person on the planet to have, like, a lot. It's just a matter of it being distributed evenly. Yeah. But they won't fucking do it. Mm-hmm. These people are like, no, fuck you. I want to do what I'm going to do.
Wealth and resources.
And this is, you want to know what? Here's the problem, and this is where we can tie this back to aliens with what we were saying before, and how I think this makes it go a little full circle. I think that some people... It's easier to believe that an alien could be that fucking evil. It's easier to believe that something that isn't actually human could do something like that, because the idea that a human could actually do some of the things that we know fucking humans have done, it's just like, no, how could you? That doesn't fucking process in my brain. How could you? You can't be real. You can't be a person. You're a monster. You're some kind of supernatural. You don't exist of this world. Because how could something that has the ability to feel emotion and see what they're like, again, that like child murderers, not even necessarily just like the traffickers or whatever that do obviously exist, but just the people that abuse their children and abuse them to death or neglect them to death, like that kind of crazy shit. The woman in fucking Uxbridge who had fucking 6 babies in boxes in her fucking closet. Like, do you remember that shit?
Oh yeah.
Like,
remember that?
And then there was another one, and then
had like all of them stuffed in the fucking walls in the basement.
You see that I don't remember, but what I do remember was in Arizona.
An episode on that because it's
in Arizona, dude. There was a fucking in Arizona. There was a company that when the FBI raided the place, they had fucking heads on. They had heads sewn from heads sewn on different bodies and Frankenstein shit on the wall and
like
organs and basically. And this is the crazy part. This is one of these things where it sometimes does make you feel, which always understand. I'm at a point, and I credit this to my late Uncle Mitchell, may he rest in peace. I need the proof. You can't just tell me and say, oh, they're going to lie about it. You want to know what the reality of the world? This is why I hate anti-vaxxers. Because you don't even know anything about the process of scientific discovery, of what they have to do. My mother worked for a company called Springer, where I never saw anything confidential, but what they do is they publish medical journals. And I saw some of the shit, some of the medical journals, you would not believe the level of detail and complexity that goes into something like even researching a fucking vaccine, let alone creating and which, by the way, is another reason why I am personally a little skeptical about the current vaccine, because they were able to get it made so fast.
Yeah, that's
and it involves new technology.
Yeah.
That involves your DNA.
Yeah,
so
I know, dude. Yeah,
it is strange, but again, none of us have actually looked at.
It's a new dawn. It's a whole new era.
But the thing is, how many people have actually? Because again, these medical journals, in a lot of cases, are public record. Mm-hmm. You can go and look at how these people were developing these things, and that's kind of the point, is that people ignore that entire process and just say, you're lying. It doesn't make sense to me, so you're lying.
Yeah.
And that is what I am against, but also understand, it's not like I don't know now about like the Skull and Bones Society or the fucking, like the Rothschilds or whatever. It's not like suddenly
You're not doing a blanket denial against all occult conspiracy.
It's just that at a certain point, some shit, if it fucking looks like horses, if it looks like a duck and it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, I'm gonna call it a duck. You know what did Mark Wahlberg saying? Fucking the other guys. When you hear hoofbeats, you think horses, not zebras.
Yeah.
So my whole deal is this, though, is that because there's enough weird, crazy shit in the world, that's why, to me, like, I would not be surprised at all. Like, again, the kinds of people that I know, really think about it. Wouldn't it be crazy if the reason why we are having this whole, like, transsexual revolution and homosexuality and whatnot, which is very akin to the way the 60s was, the 60s and the 70s, but what if the only reason for that is because the next generation of whatever, either maybe a generation of somebody who's running the, behind the scenes of the media, or somebody in some crazy high position, just is like, you want to know what? This is who I am, and I feel like fucking with the world, and I can, so I'm gonna. Like, that's what I'm saying, where, especially, like, knowing juggalos, just think about it like this. Could you imagine if somebody, just a juggalo, not even necessarily anyone, like, one that resembles one that we know, but just imagine a juggalo senator. Can you imagine what kind of shit that person would do just because they thought it was funny?
Yeah.
Or a juggalo congressman. Could you imagine what kind of crazy shit? But first of all, we think that.
Let's start off with a juggalo mayor. And
but you want to know what? That's kind of the point. Is the juggalos are looked at like these idiot fucking people. But you want to know what? We've all met. We all know.
I know.
Juggalos that are not only intelligent, juggalos that are educated, juggalos that are well-to-do, juggalos that are very successful.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like,
I know, it's just the funny, like, bro, like, anybody who hasn't listened, I've been listening to ICP for 20 years, longer than that now. Max is clearly a juggalo, but, like, it's just funny, a phrase to say juggalos.
Oh, I know. That's the whole fucking point. What I'm saying, though,
But there's a lot of intelligent juggalos.
But my point, though, is that imagine at just the highest level that on top of these people being cruel and being desolate and being willing to subject the untold masses to horrors, they've also got a real fucked up sense of humor.
Oh yeah.
Like that to me, like certain things that happen, like doesn't it seem a little bit cartoonish to a point where this fucking QAnon dude, the QAnon fucking shaman, got transferred to a different jail so they could give him organic food, but yet there are black people that literally are like, hey, I have a gluten allergy, or hey, I'm allergic to nuts, can you, yeah, fuck you, buddy. We don't like it just the level to which sometimes the fucking the disparity exists.
The systematic racism in this country is just undeniable.
That's my point. Is that could you imagine that the race war really comes? Imagine if that was really how it started. That there are two races of aliens that have fucking converged on this planet, and one was white people, one started white people, and one started black people. Could you imagine? Or no, and then one started Asians, and then one started Native Americans. Because even though Native Americans have largely been wiped from the fucking planet, they genetically are built differently. That's why they talk about the 4 colors of man. White people, black people, Asian people, and Native people all have different, like, Native people react to alcohol differently. Only black people can get sickle cell anemia. White people are white because they had to, deal with the cold. Black people because of the heat. Like, the Asian people, the way that their body processes, like, that's
just the chemical melanin in itself.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, it's a very specific, unique,
and this is why I honestly believe that aliens had something to do with our creation, because to me it just makes more sense that something that, because we just don't understand the technology. We have the ability to conceptualize it and think about what it could be. We just don't know how to make it work.
Yeah.
The idea that we've considered something like faster than light travel, like I always think about these things where I honestly think H.P. Lovecraft is one of the only authors that has, or maybe H.R. Geiger with Alien. Very few things have ever done justice to the idea. Rick and Morty did a good job with this. Something alien actually being alien. Because don't you ever notice when you watch movies and this and that everything alien has this really human or earthly look to it of it's still bipedal and walks like a person.
Yeah, like it's a carbon-based life form.
As opposed to, or not even, or that it like looks like kind of like a dog, or kind of like a cat, or kind of like a bird, or kind of like a, they're like
it could look like a 30-foot sea worm that has knives for eyes.
And this is that's kind of my point, is that the idea of H.P. Lovecraft was one of the only authors that ever really did it with this whole, like, the idea of this thing, it would literally drive you insane to see it because your brain couldn't process it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense of it. And I've also thought about that kind of thing where, like, what Cthulhu actually is, where, like, it's funny how that, as this completely fictional thing, has become so popularized and well known.
You know about tulpas, right?
Maybe.
It's the concept of, like, pretty much like a psychic projection or thought or idea becoming reality. Like Freddy Krueger's a tulpa.
Okay.
To condense it
right,
down
no, okay, I see what
you
you're
know
saying.
what I mean?
Well, because I just think of it in the sense of, like, in the Mountains of Madness, when they're flying away at the very end, the dude looks back and his hair goes white, and he just loses his mind. That, to me, is one of the most, and again, with aliens, especially like that one thing we found with the KGB thing,
yeah.
where the idea of, like, something where you see it, and it's just your brain is just shuts down, like it can't fucking. Because think of, like, the idea that it has a.
I think it might be. I think that might be allegory.
That it has a molecular structure that your brain does not understand what it's seeing.
Because
I think that, like, with computers, it does that. Like, if you feed a certain program into a computer, the computer, if it doesn't have the capability to read it, it's just like, I don't know what the fuck to do.
And I think that happened probably in that Russian incident. And that it happens a lot where, like, your brain just overloads, and so maybe, like, rather than trying to rationalize that, it just turned into a fantastical, through a game of telephone, they turned to stone, when they're really talking about how the men were like stone because they just went, like, catatonic afterwards.
Well, no, there is no.
So they're not
true
physically
indeed.
limestone, but maybe in
that
thing.
story specifically, that's what it was.
I know.
Having said that, what I was going to say was just the idea of, like, I honestly and truly believe to a certain extent.
Well, because when you were talking, not to cut you off, when you were talking about the, from Cthulhu, the guy going insane looking at the alien. In Brazil, the few people that really, like, came in contact allegedly close with these people, a lot of them lost all all their hair and went into insane asylums. And
Yeah,
stuff
but
like
you
that,
want to
'cause
know
they
what?
Just couldn't.
Well,
they
I
didn't
can
talk about it. And then the other amount
Have you
of
ever seen
people.
Fire in the Sky?
Yeah. Travis Walton was just on the Joe Rogan Experience.
Oh, no shit?
recently. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
You gotta listen.
That
to
was
that
well,
shit,
no, that
dude.
was a that
I
was a
grew up
movie.
watching Fire in the Sky.
That when I
but it's
that was
completely. It's not the way it went down. Travis Walton tells he's like that was Hollywood 100%.
So was it like not as negative as
Not
as
at
the
all.
movie?
It wasn't,
Oh, really?
it wasn't negative at all.
Interesting.
And it not, like I love, and I use a clone-in jelly at work that looks just like the jelly they put in his mouth, and like he
Well, 'cause
wakes up
that,
"Well, if we don't wind it down, we'll go for fucking
Oh
another
wait,
hour.
no, you want to know what it is? Is it looks like we reached the limit of.
You probably
Oh, wait,
can.
no, never mind. It's still going.
Oh, cool.
Well, so anyway, we will edit this through a little bit because obviously it's going to have cut off the one specific part. We started talking about Fire in the Sky.
Yeah.
And how, first of all, apparently it wasn't really a factual accounting based on the way that the guy who experienced it felt.
Yeah, Travis Walton said that more or less, and this happens a lot with
Yeah.
adaptations. A bunch of producers came in and they were like, "Nah, we're gonna make this like a horror movie."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in reality, he said he had a good experience, and yeah, it's really crazy when he talks about it because he was just like a Midwestern Mormon. You know what I mean? Like
See,
these
this
guys
is-
didn't want to ever have this happen
Well,
to them.
I got to tell you, one of the big things about it to me is just that's what makes me think that there are like different races. or
Species,
entities.
yeah, 100%.
Because some of them have these experiences where they're legit, like, and here's the other part that makes me curious: why would they still be abducting people or ever abduct people and try to experiment on them when they potentially, if aliens exist, the idea that they've existed for however long would mean that they've obviously been around for the entirety of human existence.
Oh, buddy, I already know where
you'd
you're
think.
going with this.
So at that point,
Did we stop doing it to animals though?
well, you want to know what? We don't have that level of understanding.
Yeah, but maybe they don't too. Maybe they're not as omnipotent as we think they are.
You might be right, but this is kind of my point, though, is just that some of them are more ambivalent and more altruistic in their behavior, and some of them are obviously much more like vicious, and like the idea that maybe there are some that are like abducting people to try to like figure out how to end depression or end fucking sadness or whatever by figuring it out chemically, and then like somehow, you know, through astral projection and the Akashic record and fucking whatever, like helping somebody intelligent enough figure it out and start to create the technology. Because that's kind of a big thing where like I feel like in a lot of cases where if we were exposed to like a lot of this really high technology we don't understand, that we would just like somebody like Bob Lazar, I think like there's only a few people that have ever done things like that because you have to have such a scientific mind. Like scientists? Full stop. That's why so many of them believe that we might live in a simulation, and why they all believe in aliens and shit like that.
And that's
because they have the knowledge to know that it makes sense to be true.
That's one thing that like I'll hold up as an example of institutions like correlating to suppress information, because literally the university tried to say he never went there, and it's only the you know what I mean? Like that's literally the government coordinating with a school to suppress information.
Yeah. Well, we've all heard the different things, like the Nazi scientists that they brought over with Operation Paperclip.
We wouldn't have NASA if we didn't.
Well, but that's my point.
Steal
Is
the Nazi
that
scientists.
apparently there was this? I saw this.
Werner, what's his name?
Werner von Braun.
Yeah.
There was this documentary once I watched where he said, like a guy, I think he was saying he was talking to Werner von Braun, and they were just like, the ability that they had to create what they created in the time span that they did was extremely remarkable. And they were just like, how did you make this happen? How were you able to create, you know, just to accomplish these incredible feats? And then apparently he motioned over to like the dark files section of like the supposed alien interactions and this and that.
He's
They
like
were
methamphetamines and astral projection.
It was just like, we had help.
Yeah.
And so at that point,
I believe in malevolent entities. Help them out.
You know,
100%.
something actually that's really interesting that Wayne told me about that I never really.
Shout out to Wayne the Pain.
That and I had to look a little bit to find something like this, but you can't find the pictures. That apparently in the photo dump of the moon landing, that there are pictures where they're in the official reaction or the official explanation is that empty field of view where nothing is there, but there's a fucking pyramid there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that's my point, is that imagine if there were pyramids on the moon, and then imagine that Olympus Mons was a fucking pyramid that was some kind of power source that got its fucking top blown off. Like, again, to me, the reason why I think aliens exist in that way, and with them existing means they could exist in any capacity, is scientifically it makes sense. That's why I believe it, because the science supports it. Mathematically, there is an equation to present the idea of this is how many intelligent species have to be out there, based just on how big we've seen the universe to be, and we've looked at like 8%, maybe less, of the entire universe. We can't even see the whole thing, and we've been looking at it for a pretty long time. And so
we're also assuming we're the only universe.
Yeah, that's, don't get me wrong. There's like the Men in Black where they fucking shoot.
That's what I think, bro.
The thing, and then it's just the bigger.
But I thought about that when I was really high and I spit on a bug, and then I was like watching like the interactions of the bugs in my spit bubble, and I was like, they don't even know A, what that is, or B, that I'm even here. And that life only it's like a Russian doll. Because below them there's microorganisms, and below them like gut bacteria.
That's what they're talking about in
goes
fucking
all the way up, so it's beyond us too.
Ant-Man and the Wasp in the quantum universe.
It's really
quantum realm.
It's hard for us to accept that like we might be cucked in the grand conceit.
Well, you want to know what?
There might be a higher intelligence that we're the gut bacteria in.
Well, yeah,
that's
but you want to know what?
To wrap our head around.
I don't think that that's being cucked though, because even within
Uncle
that,
Cuck?
No, I don't think. Fucking goon. I think that we still, if you look at the way that this world still is and what you are able to experience in the midst of being a human.
Oh no, it's
the
huge.
Idea,
but if for an egotistical person who likes to have their solid I understand this is the finite universe and it's by these parameters, and they don't allow thought in.
And that, by the way, is exactly the reason why it's mostly religious, small-minded idiots that don't believe in aliens, and the people that do believe in aliens are the people that are objective and more intelligent because they've been educated.
Yeah.
There's also a reason why there's a correlation between the more education you see in an area, the less you see religion in an area. I swear to God, there's a scientific correlation between education and a lack of religion, because the more that you think critically, the more that religion makes no sense whatsoever.
No, 100%.
And that's also why, like I said, with a lot of things with a lot of conspiracy theories, that's why I do believe that crazy shit goes on, and I do believe that nefarious forces exist. But at a certain point, you have to look at the world for what it really is, and the world is too disorganized. Like, I don't care how powerful what it is. There is no way that there is any force that is making a conscious decision to drive the actions of this planet on a moment-to-moment basis. It couldn't be done. Because the whole idea, that would require some kind of like religious, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent God.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I think that based on the way that, like I said, from the cave drawings to the legends of the gods and all this different shit, frankly, to me, I think that aliens for sure were like gods and shit, and that their powers and godly, divine whatever was technology we don't understand.
So, aliens exist. Now, I gotta ask you this.
Okay.
Would you fuck one?
I mean, see, it's a shame we're not going to get to go into as much of this as I thought we were gonna, because we did kind of breeze over this a little bit.
Unity!
But, oh, God.
Unity!
Could you imagine? Oh, God. I wish I could remember the whole fucking bit. Oh, no, I know. Well, that's why I like that show so much, because they really do...
Talking about Rick and Morty for the uninitiated.
They really do a very good job of portraying, like, these outside of the realm of humanity concepts, but still maintaining themselves within humanity.
Honestly, those are the types of intelligence that I believe in. You know what I mean? Like being able to satellite broadcast.
I mean, yeah. So you want to know what? To me, I like the idea of a hive mind. There's even like.
Would you have sex with it, man? I'm trying to get there.
It depends on what kind of fucking parts. Okay, because if they're able, first of all,
what if it's a voluptuous, shapely?
Oh, you better believe it.
Yeah. So you wait.
Oh, you can. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Death by fucking snoo, bro. Let's get it.
All right. So it's Stacy Keibler with like a horn. Okay, Stacy Keibler.
I'm not gonna let her peg me with the horn if that's.
All right. Fuck. All right. So that's out of the question. Okay. Her clitoris though, it's like the size of a cocktail weenie. and it gets spiny.
I mean, see, no, that's like I was gonna say maybe I
When
could
aroused,
like
it's spiny.
doing some
not enough to like.
no.
prick
You want to know what? See, that would be
just
good
like
if you got,
when
like,
you're rubbing
if
against
you're having
it might go in your belly button.
No, see, if you're having
you might get penetrated.
No, see, if you're having a three-way with another human woman, and that I could see that being utilized.
Wait. Why does human or alien have to like?
Well, because the woman they're going to use the prickly appendage or proboscis, whatever it is, to kind of like, you could stimulate the woman. It's kind of like a ribbed, marital aid.
What about plumbus?
Yeah, see, you know what exactly? It could be
plumbus to me is like a
if they've got a
fleshlight.
plumbus? That's what you would. That's what you would figure.
Plumbus is.
It looks like it.
Extra phlegm. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, flebe juice.
So
it's flebe juice.
Are you telling me, in all seriousness, that you would gamble? You do not know what kind of juices are coming out of there. You know what I mean?
Know what?
It could be so acidic.
You told me, but you told me that it was voluptuous, and here's the other thing. How's this?
Pumpkin can be voluptuous.
No, it can't. What fucking pumpkins have you been looking at?
I've seen some voluptuous pumpkins.
Some voluptuous pumpkins, have you?
I have. Yo,
Listen,
why do you think they say pumpkin butt?
No, first of all, I don't want a pumpkin butt. What the fuck are you talking about? No, a pair of pumpkins, maybe. But a single
like
pumpkin?
A pair of pumpkins.
Oh no, a single pumpkin.
A Midwestern trailer trash is a pumpkin butt.
You stop it right now. Oh my God. You got the fucking.
All right, so you don't care. You're going for it no matter what.
You want to know what? No, because you know what? I'll do some digital manipulation with the hands, and then you want to know what the skin on my hand.
Okay,
the skin on my hand is the same as the skin on my dick. So
okay, wait.
That's we're gonna test for acidity first.
Yeah.
We'll see what's going on. See if there's any teeth or any spines down there.
The pH.
And then, but we're gonna see. But you want to know what? Like, who knows? Maybe if it's just like, because that one comedian talked about how he had to reach it, like trying to like whatever, but he
what?
He reached into a fucking shark's like cloaca, and it felt super soft, and it's just like, what if they have just the softest, like, how pirates
look at that right there.
You know how pirates used to fuck manatees? Oh, get the fuck out of here. That is no.
It's a puss mound.
That's
a puss mound with a butthole. It's actually a pumpkin, but it looks like
a fluke pumpkin.
That's a fluke.
That is a fluke pumpkin. Pumpkins do not generally.
What you say when you have sex with a Midwestern whore around Halloween? It's a fluke pumpkin.
Probably.
That's another pumpkin, right?
I'm gonna risk it for the corn biscuit.
We're looking at voluptuous pumpkins. They do exist.
Oh my lord! No, but you want to know what? I mean, frankly, I'm trying to be. I'm from New Jersey and shit, bro. I'm trying to be able to tell that Jay story, man. He said, there, want people to be able to see me when I walk by and say, there he goes. Homeboy fucked the Martian once. I'm saying, Jason Mewes.
Max is doing it.
Jason Mewes. Well, so I assume that you're saying it like this, so that you would not.
Now that you've mentioned it, I'd do the finger test. I would definitely do the finger test. Yeah.
Don't fucking front like I'm the only one that wants to clap the alien cheeks.
No, okay, but
are you kidding me? Area 51. That was the whole idea.
I'm just really concerned that.
Isn't it sad to find out that we totally could have raided Area 51 and probably gotten in?
Oh yeah. I forgot about it. The Area 51 raid. I watched it on YouTube. I was watching the live stream and shit. Oh man, that dog is so adorable.
Oh yeah, no, she's chilling.
All right, so we should wrap it up.
Yeah, no, we're gonna wrap it up. I mean, we could obviously go for much longer, but we'll save that for another time. I want to thank you all for stopping by and listening to Here's the Thing with Madd Maxxx. I got the homie Reverend Television on my right. I got the Lord of the Loud Packs on my left. And we will see y'all again, I don't know, either next week or this will probably be one of the first episodes, so maybe you'll just listen to the next one after this, and then we'll start doing them by the week. But
we're going to kiss your eardrums
often. She's just so gingerly, maybe a little...
Gingerly?
Maybe a little tongue into the ear canal. It's a very sensitive area. It'll give you some tingles, some pleasant tingles, a heady tingle. If you will.
Jimmy Tingle over here.
Jimmy Tingles and the grabbing and the touching, and the squeezing and the talking like Jerry Lewis.
All right, then,
just one last thing I do want to say, because of Jerry Lewis and because of it's kind of funny where if you say things in that kind of cadence and tone, no matter what you're talking about,
Jerry
it sounds
Lewis,
Jewish.
Yeah.
So it's so me and these So me and these hobbits we're going to this city with the elves, this whole Fakakta River. And it's a whole problem. We have to find this ring and drop it into this Mishigas volcano, and then they're flying around with their swords and the capes, and they're just killing people, and it's just not okay.
What are you, J.E.W. Tolkien over here?
Yes, exactly. But I'm just saying, you could do it about anything. Like, so there's these aliens in this spaceship, and then there's this company that there's the Wutani. I don't know what's going on. You could the Wayland Yutani.
Yeah, there it is.
So there you go.
Wutani.
Wutani is for the children.
All right, we're out.
Peace.